Hey guys, tonight we step into a world of precision, silence, and socks folded like sacred scripture. You're standing outside the 14th floor of a luxury hotel. Could be Miami, could be Milwaukee, doesn't matter. The hallway carpet has that muted hush, like it was made to cushion the lives of millionaires. And right in front of you is Kobe Bryant, duffel bag slung low, earbuds in, shoulders squared. Now, you probably wouldn't survive this man's bedtime routine, not because it's physically impossible, though parts of it definitely are, but because it's so steeped in intention that even blinking at the wrong time feels like an interruption. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're at it, post your location and what time it is right now where you're watching. I love knowing where this little tribe of night owls is tuning in from. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The elevator doors part with a soft ding. You follow behind him, slowly, quietly, as he strides down the hallway, not in a hurry, but never wandering. Just before reaching his door, he stops. Bag still slung on his shoulder, he raises his right hand and taps the frame twice. 1, 2. Same tempo, same knuckle. Like Morse code, only he understands. Some say it started in high school. Others think it came from watching old samurai films, ritual before threshold. Biographers still wonder whether it was superstition, psychological grounding, or just another way for Kobe to say, "You're entering my zone now." The door swings open with a magnetic clunk, and the hotel room lights flicker on. It's your standard 5-star athlete suite. Marble countertop, too many chairs, those suspiciously tiny throw pillows on the bed. But the atmosphere shifts as soon as he walks in. There's no drop of his bag, no plop onto the mattress. Just a soft exhale through the nose and one slow survey of the room, like he's scanning for tactical advantage. Then the light rule kicks in. He flicks on the main switch, briefly. The whole room brightens, gives him a quick sense of shape and color, and then he shuts it all down. Just one lamp stays on now, dim, yellow-toned, set low beside the desk. This is not about mood lighting. This is a reset. According to trainers, Kobe claimed the brain reacts better when it doesn't need to adjust to gradual light fade. Hit it once, then bring it back down. Fast. He hangs his coat on the bathroom door, not the hook, the door. He believes hooks stretch the collar. Shoes go by the AC unit, not too close to the vent. Laces inside, not trailing. He kicks them into position with the heel of his foot, then adjusts one slightly to match the other's angle. Then, maybe the oddest part, he places his key card exactly 3 inches from the edge of the nightstand. 3 inches. You've seen it yourself. He used to measure it with a chapstick. Now it's muscle memory. There's a rhythm to the silence now. You don't realize how loud hotels usually are. TVs murmuring through walls, clunky ice machines, hallway laughter. But here, with Kobe, there's a stillness that hums, like the room itself is holding its breath. He moves next to the window, cracks the curtain just an inch, and stares out. Not dramatically, not wistfully, just assessing. Whether it's downtown lights, a parking garage, or just a wall, he looks for something familiar. A shape, a landmark, a pattern. Once, he told a teammate that he liked seeing anything that doesn't change, which is wild when you think about it because Kobe changed the game constantly. But in here, he hunted for anchors. As you sit on the small couch, watching all this unfold, a quiet thrill trickles through you. You're not watching someone settle in for rest. You're watching someone prepare. Like a soldier cleaning a weapon, or a pianist cracking knuckles before the symphony. He moves with no wasted effort. Bag on bed now, finally. But not unzipped. Not yet. He grabs a bottled water from the minibar and sets it on the desk. Not to drink, but to warm. He doesn't like ice-cold water before sleep. You once asked him why. He shrugged. Body shouldn't work harder than it needs to at night. He checks the thermostat, always between 66 and 68 degrees. Not for comfort, for recovery. Studies show that temperature range is best for muscular repair, but honestly, you know he was doing this before the studies even came out. You catch his reflection in the mirror as he passes. No smile, no scowl, just calm. Kobe never looked tired, even when he was. He always looked like he chose to be still, like rest was another rep in the gym. And maybe that's the secret to everything that came later. The 81-point game, the 5 rings, the 4 a.m. workouts. Maybe it all started right here, with the double tap on the door and a bottle of room temperature water. One last thing before he unzips the bag. He glances at the remote, tempted maybe, just for a second, but then turns it face down and slides it under the lamp base. No distractions, no noise, no reruns of the game he already played. Tonight isn't about yesterday, it's about readiness, and readiness lives in routine. Welcome to Kobe's hotel room. You blink, and Kobe's already halfway across the room, dim light glinting off the silver zipper of his suitcase like a surgeon's tool. No rustling, no fumbling, just that smooth, gliding zip that sounds weirdly final. He opens it all the way, flips back the flap, and surveys the contents like he's laying eyes on a game plan. And in a way, he is. Right on top, a folded towel, a stack of socks, 3 plain t-shirts, rolled, not folded, a resistance band looped perfectly, and a small black pouch labeled Recovery. There's no mess here. No shoved-in sneakers or tangled chargers. The man folds his toiletries like origami. Everything comes out in the same order every time. And there's a reason. He once told a young teammate, "How you pack your bag is how you shoot your shot," which made 0 sense until you saw it in action. Because this wasn't packing, this was geometry. First, the socks. He places them on the bedspread like they're museum exhibits. The toes point east toward the window. That's not symbolic. It's just how he started doing it once, and so that's how it stays. He doesn't question routines that work. Then the t-shirts. He smooths the fabric with one hand, palm open, and adjusts the folds like he's correcting posture. No creases, no wrinkles, just lines that could teach a drafting class. And heaven help the hotel if the bed isn't perfectly flat. You've seen him remake the whole thing with military corners before laying anything down. One time, a maid walked in mid-remake and just stared. "You know we can do that for you," she'd said. He smiled politely, nodded, and kept remaking it anyway. The recovery pouch goes on the desk. Inside are tiny tools of obsession. KT tape, a lacrosse ball, nail clippers. Yes, precision matters there too. And a weird plastic stick that looks like it's from a medieval dentist. It's for foot mobility. Don't ask. You watch him now, back straight, moving like water over stone. He's not rushing. He's aligning. Biographers still debate if this meticulousness came from childhood or was born out of injury, whether it was nature or necessity. But the real ones know. It was both. Growing up in Italy, you're taught to iron your shirts by 10, and blowing out your Achilles at 34 teaches you to respect every tendon like a teammate. Once everything's in place, he stands back and scans the setup. Sometimes he adjusts the spacing between the socks, sometimes not. But if he ever refolds a shirt, that's how you know something's off. Then comes the lighting ritual. With his right hand, he touches the lamp switch, but doesn't turn it off yet. Just holds it. You see his eyes flick to the corners of the room, to the ceiling, to the shadow behind the closet door. It's not fear, it's surveillance. He's not looking for danger, he's just refusing to be surprised. Then, click. Darkness slides in like a friend who's been waiting quietly. Only a faint blue wash from the city window remains, and Kobe's silhouette is suddenly larger, more mythic, like some kind of bedtime guardian spirit. You could almost believe he doesn't need sleep, that he's just waiting for the world to catch up. But he does sleep. Eventually. Just not yet. He sits cross-legged on the carpet now, back against the bed frame, legs relaxed but aligned. He takes one sock from the bed, folds it in half, then again, and sets it beside him. Then another. He repeats the fold, over and over. The thing is, none of these socks are dirty. They're clean. They came folded. But he redoes them anyway, because his fold has a rhythm, a feel, like tuning an instrument before a concert. Once you asked him why socks mattered. He just said, "Tiny things, big edge." It was one of those phrases that sounded like it should be on a mug until you realized he meant it with terrifying sincerity. Some athletes need noise to settle. Kobe needs order. Not cleanliness necessarily. He doesn't care about dust or fingerprints, but alignment. You get the sense that if the world ended and he was the last one left, he'd still fold his socks before sleeping in a burnt-out hotel. A lesser-known fact? He once fired a personal assistant for overpacking his suitcase. Too many shirts, Not enough grip socks. Kobe called it vision clutter. That assistant now works in tech. Makes sense. As the minutes slip by, you realize you're holding your breath. Not because anything dramatic's happening, but because the quiet is contagious. You don't want to be the reason this spell breaks. And then, it happens. He folds one sock and pauses. Something's wrong. He unfolds it, refolds. Still not right. Now he's standing. He turns the sock in the low light, checking seams, feels the inside, adjusts the toe alignment, folds again, still not satisfied. You watch this go on for maybe 6 tries. Finally, he sets it aside. Not angrily, just respectfully, like it failed the tryouts. That sock won't make the team tonight. In this room, even cotton earns its place. Now that the socks are lined up like disciplined soldiers awaiting inspection, Kobe turns toward the bathroom. Not to shower, not to brush his teeth yet, just to stand, just to look. He's not admiring the tile or checking the water pressure. He's staring at the countertop with that same calm intensity you saw courtside in overtime. On the counter sits one item, a neatly folded white towel, already damp from the minibar's fridge. He picks it up gently, like it's made of glass, and folds it in half lengthwise, then again. Not just folded, creased. Then he places it across the back of his neck and closes his eyes. This is not a spa moment. This is ritual. The cold hits his spine, and his shoulders drop a half inch. That towel's been doing this job since his rookie year. Same method, same timing. He once said it reminded him of home, Italy specifically. He'd come home from outdoor hoops, neck sunburned, muscles sore, and his mom would place a cold cloth behind his head without a word. Just action, just love. So now, every night, wherever he is in the world, Kobe recreates that moment. Because silence with intention is sometimes louder than anything else. But here's the strange part. While the cold towel works its quiet magic, he doesn't scroll. He doesn't text. He doesn't even stretch. What he does is even weirder. He listens to cassette tapes of old war generals giving speeches. Not digitized, not streamed. Cassette tapes. There's a tiny beat-up Walkman in his toiletries kit that looks like it survived both Desert Storm and a toddler's birthday party. Tonight's selection? General George Patton. The tape whirs softly as Patton growls about aggression and execution. You try not to laugh at how wildly unrelaxing it is, but Kobe? He's stone still. One sockless foot tapping rhythmically against the side of the tub. Biographers still debate whether this was about discipline, nostalgia, or just plain madness. But the consensus among teammates is, Kobe didn't need to calm down to sleep. He needed to lock in. And somehow, a gravel-voiced general talking about tanks helped him do just that. He listens until the end. Always the end. Then ejects the tape, flips it, and puts it back in the case upside down, ready for next time. The label on the tape? Handwritten in black Sharpie. War Tape 3B. There is no 3A. He once joked it was lost in battle. You still don't know if he meant it. Now the towel gets folded again, this time long ways, steam now replacing chill. He lays it across the bathroom sink to dry. Never the towel rack, which he claims creates bacteria. You made the mistake of asking him to explain once, and 20 minutes later you were hearing about fiber density and skin pH balance. Back in the main room, he paces. Not aimlessly. There's a loop, bed to chair, chair to desk, desk to curtain, curtain to mirror. Over and over, slow and steady. The pacing isn't random. It's a breathing drill. 3 steps in, inhale. 3 steps out, exhale. Repeat. He learned it from a yoga instructor in Santa Monica, who once told him it would open up the night. After a few laps, he pauses at the mirror. And here comes the part that always feels a little eerie. He starts whispering. Not to himself, to his reflection. He doesn't say much, just a few lines. Sometimes in Italian, sometimes English, You can't hear every word, but the cadence is unmistakable. It's like a mantra, or maybe a negotiation. Tonight you catch one line clearly. Don't leave food on the rim. You'd think it was a joke if you didn't know what he meant. He's talking about layups, about finishing, about not wasting energy without reward. He's not trying to be poetic. He's programming himself. Then he raises a tennis ball, out of nowhere, tosses it against the mirror, lightly, catches it, tosses again, catch. The ball's not scuffed, not dirty, just worn enough to have meaning. It's been in that same side pocket of his suitcase for years. He does this for 20 catches. No drops, no smiles, just laser focus. The ball goes back in the bag. Another towel gets brought out now, this one dry. He folds it diagonally, lays it flat on the bed, and sits cross-legged on top of it. This is his dry dock, as he calls it. You don't really know why. Could be a Navy term, could be Kobe being Kobe. He never explains the weird ones. He just executes them perfectly. Now, let's talk about the room's scent. Because yes, even that's intentional. He doesn't like hotel room air fresheners. Claims they flatten the air. Instead, he uses a tiny essential oil roller, lavender with a trace of mint. But he never applies it to skin. He rolls it on the underside of the pillowcase, just the corners. Sleep perimeter, he calls it. There's something ancient about that. Like an athlete from another time, one who doesn't just compete but lives the sport, breathes it even while asleep. And now, the pacing slows. He steps back toward the desk. Not to sit. He never sits during the first hour in the room. Sitting is surrender. Movement is focus. Until every object is in place and his breath is in rhythm, he doesn't stop. So the next time you hear someone say, Kobe Bryant had Mamba mentality, remember, it didn't start with game winners or trophies. It started here, in a half-lit hotel room, with a damp towel and a whisper to the mirror, and a tennis ball bouncing back from the glass like a promise. Now you're sitting on the edge of the room's single armchair, watching Kobe lower himself onto the floor like it's sacred ground. Not slow, not strained, just measured. His knees hit the towel without a sound. His palms open on the carpet like he's anchoring to something only he can feel. This is where the real routine begins. See, most people crash into their hotel beds like survivors after a long day. Not Kobe. He doesn't even look at the bed until at least 40 minutes have passed. It's not about comfort. It's about rules. His rules. And rule number 1, the bed is not for anything but recovery. No scrolling, no eating, no watching TV in bed. He once told a reporter, if your body sees the bed as a place to chill, it won't know when it's time to heal. A little intense? Sure. But not as intense as what you're watching now. He stretches, not the lazy, I should stretch kind of stretch. This is choreography. Left hamstring first, then right quad. Then he switches into something that looks like a yoga lunge but sharper. There's a count for each. Always prime numbers. 7 seconds, 11 seconds, 13 seconds. You asked once if that was superstition. He just grinned and said, feels less fake. And the weirdest part? He shadowboxes. No gloves, no stance, just precise lightning-quick punches into the air, elbows tight, fists high. You can practically hear the swoosh of each jab slicing through the still hotel air. He does this barefoot, always barefoot. He says it reminds his feet they still have a job to do. The floor under him becomes an arena, a studio, a church, depending on the night, depending on the city. And he moves through it all like he's training for something no one else knows is coming. Here's a lesser-known fact. Kobe once asked hotel staff to replace the carpet in his room because the pile was too soft for pivots. They thought he was joking. He wasn't. They brought him a rubber mat instead. He tipped $500 and used it every night that trip. Now he's back on the floor, seated again, spine straight. He closes his eyes and pulls a small object from the desk drawer, a worn, laminated photo. You lean a bit to glimpse it. It's black and white, faded. Looks like a teenager in a Lakers warm-up suit, smiling shyly at the camera. That's young Kobe, high school Kobe, the kid who walked into Lower Merion Gym at dawn while the janitor was still unlocking doors. He once said he kept this photo with him everywhere to remind the man what the boy expected. He places the photo back carefully, then pulls out his phone. But not to scroll. Nope. This is a two-call night. First up, Italy. He scrolls to a contact named Coach Ezio. No emoji, no last name, just Ezio. The call goes straight to voicemail. It's 3 a.m. over there. But Kobe still leaves a message, always in Italian. Something short, respectful, playful. He once told you Ezio was the first coach who ever made him run without a ball. Said it taught him how to chase ghosts. The second call isn't to a person, it's to a moment. He opens YouTube, searches for a highlight reel. Virtus Bologna versus Fortitudo, 1991. That's right, not an NBA game, an old Italian league matchup that most Americans wouldn't even recognize. And he watches, eyes wide, chin resting on his knee. You ask him once why he watches those instead of his own footage. He shrugs. Their hunger was different. No glitz, no cameras, just ball. There's an echo of envy there, as if despite all the glory, part of him still misses the sweaty, smoky gyms of Reggio Emilia, the mismatched jerseys, the nets with holes in them, the pure, stripped-down version of the game that doesn't get televised. Biographers still debate whether Kobe's European upbringing helped or hindered him. Some say it made him too methodical, too distant. Others argue it gave him footwork no American gym ever could. Kobe, for his part, never picked a side. He just called it home. The video ends. He exhales. Not dramatically, just a subtle shift in weight. Then he opens his notes app. This is the part where you think he's done, maybe going to jot down a thought or two. Nope. He writes full scouting reports. On guards from that Italian game. Guards who are now in their 50s. It's absurd. And yet, he notes tendencies like he's facing them tomorrow. One guard favors right dribble entry. Another stutter steps too wide on the break. Another has a deadly lefty bank shot when drifting baseline. These men haven't played professionally in decades. But tonight, in Kobe's mind, they're live. You once joked that he might be mentally preparing to time travel back and face them. He didn't laugh. He just nodded. If I ever do, I'll be ready. And you believe him. Because that's the thing. Kobe never prepared for what was. He prepared for whatever could be, even if that meant being ready for games that would never happen. Now he closes the app, tucks the phone under the pillow. Screen down, do not disturb mode, 0 alerts. If someone needs him tonight, they'll have to wait. The room is quieter now. He sits still on the towel, eyes closed, the shadows from the curtain crawling slowly across his skin. You think back to the boy in the photo, the one in the oversized warm-up suit, smiling like he's got a secret. You wonder if that boy knew what he'd become. And then you realize, he did. That's the whole point. You hear the soft rustle of fabric, that crisp, fsht sound that only comes from thick cotton socks brushing against each other. Kobe's back on the bed now, but not lying down. Never lying down this early. He's sitting cross-legged again, like a monk surrounded by a sacred arrangement of gear. In front of him, perfectly aligned on the mattress, is the evening's main ritual, the sock fold. But you've seen this before, haven't you? Not like this. This is different. This isn't just maintenance. This is worship. One by one, Kobe lifts a sock, folds it in half toe to heel, then creases it into thirds. Every fold is done with 2 fingers on each hand, index and middle, thumbs bracing underneath. He sets each sock down with the Nike logo facing out, perfectly horizontal. The seams, all facing the same direction. The left edge of each pair is aligned with the bedspread seam, like he's building a sock skyline. Here's where it gets Kobe. If even one sock isn't folded perfectly, creased slightly off, a logo too high, a rib misaligned, he doesn't just fix it. He refolds the whole set. Yes, all of them. He once told a teammate, if one soldier breaks rank, the whole unit starts to fall apart. You thought he was joking. You were wrong. And it's not just basketball socks. There are recovery socks, training socks, Pre-game socks, quiet time socks, which are just black, no logo. Each has its place, its function. You've watched him sort them like a scientist categorizing butterflies. The drawer in his suitcase has custom dividers. He made them himself out of foam and cardboard. The man brought a label maker on Olympic trips. You might think this is about control, that this is some form of obsessive perfectionism. And maybe, yeah, a little. But more than that, this is a signal to himself, a way of saying, I'm still in command. Because think about it, hotels are temporary. Nothing's really yours. The furniture's fake heavy. The sheets never quite smell like home. You sleep where thousands of strangers have slept. But Kobe? He claims the room through routine. The socks are how he plants the flag. Lesser known fact? Once, during a playoff run, Kobe reportedly packed 43 pairs of socks for a 7-day road trip. His reasoning? I don't like to repeat energy. Yeah, let that marinate. Now he grabs one sock, just one, and holds it up in the lamplight. His eyes squint slightly, like a jeweler examining a flawed gem. You can tell something's bothering him. He stretches the fabric, tugs at the toe. The left cuff curls ever so slightly inward. He frowns, and just like that, snip. From the recovery pouch, he pulls tiny embroidery scissors and trims a loose thread. One cut, clean. He refolds the sock, places it back in the rotation like nothing happened. Biographers still debate whether this ritual was about nerves or intention. Was he grounding himself before every game? Or was this a form of resistance, refusing to let anything, even a sock, be less than precise? You remember something Phil Jackson once said about Kobe? He's the kind of guy who'd sharpen a butter knife if you let him. And yeah, this is that energy exactly. Sharpen the butter knife. Fold the sock. Make everything ready, even if you're the only one who notices. Now he does something unexpected. He picks up the entire folded stack and gently shifts it from the bed to the windowsill. One hand supports the base, the other keeps the top pair from slipping. Once it's in place, he leans in slightly, nods once, and steps away. You've watched this move before. He's letting them rest in shadow. When you asked about it, he said, "That way they remember the light." What does that mean? No idea. But it sounded cool enough that you wrote it down anyway. He returns to the desk, opens a small hardcover notebook. The spine is cracked and frayed, the cover rubbed raw at the corners. It's not labeled, there's no title. Inside, pages and pages of hand-sketched foot diagrams. Arrows pointing to pressure zones, notes in the margins like lateral flare on drive stop and dorsiflexion lag equals late lift. It's a sock journal. He keeps a sock journal, not a playbook, not a dream log, a record of how different socks performed during different movements on different floors. You flip through and see entries like Denver 2012, court too dry, needed compression calves, slid on third step back. Orlando 2009, pre-washed pair equals better balance on post pivots. This is beyond meticulous, it's archival, like he's preparing future historians to understand the biomechanical implications of cotton blends. One night you joke, "You ever think you're taking this a little too seriously?" He looks at you with that slow Kobe smirk and says, "That's how you lose." Just that. Then back to folding. Because to him, this is the game. The folding, the stacking, the notes, the trimming, all of it. It's prelude. It's proof that he hasn't let the little things slip. That the war hasn't crept in through the seams. And maybe that's what separates him. Most people train their bodies. Kobe trains everything. Mind, muscle, ritual, silence, even socks. And as he finishes the final pair, creases tight, corners sharp, logo squared, you notice something else. The rhythm in his folding has changed. It's softer now, slower, like a heartbeat after a sprint, easing into rest. The night is shifting, the room is dim, the window's a faint blue rectangle behind him. The socks cast long, quiet shadows across the sill. And for the first time since he walked through the door, you see it. The sock stack is complete. The air has settled. Kobe stands quietly at the edge of the bed now, arms resting loosely by his sides, like he's waiting for something unspoken to arrive. And maybe he is. You've seen this next part before, but it never feels routine. It's as if some invisible curtain has dropped, marking the transition from physical world to mental game. He steps toward the desk again and pulls open the top drawer. Out come the notebooks, 3 of them tonight. One black, one blue, one with a broken spiral that scratches his palm when he flips it open. The pages are covered in scribbles, arrows, numbers, plays and counters, diagrams and variations. They look chaotic, but Kobe knows exactly where everything lives. He doesn't sit while writing. He stands, elbow perched on the back of the chair, neck bent slightly forward. His handwriting? Not pretty. Sharp, compressed, borderline aggressive. Like he's racing a clock you can't see. He's sketching out sets now. Variations on triangle actions, flare screens into slips, low post isolation angles. But it's not just basketball plays. There are notes on timing, body language, even referee tendencies. You catch one margin note that says, "Watch for left side lean on jump ball toss. Refs favor strong side player." That's not strategy. That's forensic analysis. And here's where it gets wild. When he runs out of space in the notebook, which he does, often, he doesn't just stop. He shifts to napkins. Yes, literal hotel napkins. He unfolds one, smooths it on the desk with the flat of his palm, and keeps writing like nothing happened. You once saw him fill a stack of 12 before asking for more. "They absorb ink well," he'd said. No smudge on the follow-through. And when the napkins run out, Post-its, then scraps of room service menus. Then, if he's really deep into the zone, the mirror, with a Sharpie. You think it's a joke until you see it. A full half-court set drawn across the upper right quadrant of the mirror. Arrows curling around stick figures, names like Fish and Trevor scrawled in sharp corners. It's ridiculous. And yet it somehow makes sense. He sees the game everywhere, so he puts it everywhere. You lean back and watch as he shifts gears. The notebooks close. He sets them down neatly, stacked in reverse order from how they were used, of course, and moves to the mirror. He's not writing now. He's reading, silently mouthing the plays, replaying actions from memory. You can tell because his hands are moving, fingers twitching through imaginary screens, tracing passing lanes midair. At one point he stops, stares at a spot on the mirror for 5 full seconds, then nods slightly. You know that look. That's a solution found. What's remarkable isn't that he does this, it's that he's done it for decades. Hotel to hotel, game to game, always building strategies nobody asked for, against defenses that might never show up. Biographers still argue about whether this was efficiency or compulsion. Was he building greatness, or just burying anxiety under a mountain of preparation? You don't care. You just know it worked. He wipes off the mirror with a damp towel, carefully, slowly, like erasing a masterpiece. Then turns and grabs a cup from the nightstand. Not to drink, to ice. From the minibar freezer, he pulls a Ziploc bag with pre-frozen ice cubes. He brings his own, always, and drops them into the cup. No clatter, just a muted clink of solid geometry. Then he lowers himself into the armchair, sockless feet planted firm on the carpet, ankles exposed. The cup goes on the floor between them. This is the ice cup stopwatch drill. It's legendary among trainers. He sets the cup down, presses one ankle over it, and begins timing with his eyes. No watch, no phone, just watching the condensation line climb the cup's side. He once told a rookie, "When the sweat drop hits the floor, the timer starts. When the ring disappears, the timer ends." It sounds insane. It is insane. And yet, it's absurdly accurate. He swaps ankles halfway through, never letting the cup fully warm. When one side feels even slightly too melted, he swaps again. This isn't pain tolerance. This is discipline, microcontrol, the act of teaching your body that comfort is negotiable, but standards aren't. You notice a strange hum from him now. Not a song, not a word, just a tone, deep in the chest. A vibration, like he's syncing something inside himself. You're not sure if it's for focus or if it just helps pass the time, but it fills the room like a sound bowl in a temple. Here's something few know. Kobe used to hum during free throws. Not always, but when the crowd was loudest. Said it cut through the chaos. Back in the chair, the condensation trail reaches its peak. The ring disappears. Kobe blinks once. Time's up. He pours the remaining ice into the sink, runs the cup under hot water, dries it, and places it, upside down, on the windowsill. Not back in the minibar. Never back in the minibar. Return only what serves you, he once said. Then he pauses. Still. The room feels like it's holding its breath again, because what comes next is something quieter than silence. He closes his eyes and sinks into stillness. Not sleep. Not yet. But presence. You don't know how long he stays like that. A minute? 10? Time blurs. Then his eyes open, and that same softness returns. The one you saw after the final sock fold. The one that says, almost, the lights are low now. The window's glow fades into nothing, replaced by the golden hush of Kobe's lone desk lamp. You hear the faintest sound, a barely there breath through the nose as he steps back toward the bed. And there they are, the practice socks. A new stack, same brand, same size, same color. But these are different from the rest socks, the game socks, and the recovery socks. These are for movement, for the morning workout, or sometimes the 3 a.m. sneak session, just in case. They carry a different energy, almost like they've already been in motion, even when folded. He picks one up, left foot, then right. But here's the thing, if the logo isn't perfectly aligned when he pulls it over his heel, if it's rotated even a little, or the toe seam feels a millimeter off, he takes it off. Folds it again. Repositions. Tries again. You've watched this go on for 10 minutes before. A full internal negotiation, all over a single sock fit. And when he finally gets it right, he doesn't celebrate. He just breathes, quietly, like a gymnast sticking a landing that was always meant to be clean. It's not compulsive, it's ritualistic. Because for Kobe, there's no such thing as good enough, only exactly right. And when it's not exactly right, you fix it. Or you start over. You once asked him why he cared so much about socks. He was on the floor doing ankle circles at the time and didn't look up. Just said, if my feet aren't right, my cuts aren't sharp. If my cuts aren't sharp, I'm late. And if I'm late, I'm not Kobe. You nodded, like you understood. But honestly, you didn't. Not then. But now, watching him stand in the middle of this dim hotel room, feet grounded, posture regal, shadows dancing behind him, you get it. Because here's a man who's crafted every part of himself with the same intensity most people reserve for a playoff game. And it starts at the bottom, with socks. He steps back to the desk now, picks up a pen, clicks it once, only once, and writes on a post-it. 12 push cuts, left corner, 2-step dip. He sticks it to the inside of his forearm, not as a reminder, but as a declaration. Tomorrow's workout has just been partially written, on skin, in ink, before sleep. Biographers still argue about whether Kobe's planning obsession was genius or overkill. Some say he wasted energy over prepping. Others believe he predicted defenders so well it was like he time-traveled in sneakers. There's even an old assistant coach who swears Kobe once diagrammed an opponent's inbound set before the team had even played a preseason game. You just know, Kobe had said. While most people sleep with a soft pillow or a warm blanket close, Kobe? He lays the socks on a folded hand towel like he's tucking them in. One night you laughed. You gonna kiss those goodnight too? He looked at you dead serious and said, they take care of me, I take care of them. You never joked again. Here's a fun but true fact. During the 2009 finals, Kobe reportedly had a sock sponsorship offer on the table. Big money. But he declined. Why? Because they wanted to alter the seam placement. And he said, that's how you tear a ligament in June. The room hums gently now. The fan clicks on low. The air feels thinner, softer, like it's agreeing to be quiet. And you realize something important. This isn't superstition. This is self-sculpting. Like a painter laying down each brushstroke with care, or a violinist tuning every string before the concert. Every fold, every touch, every post-it, it all says, I'm still shaping the edge that slices between greatness and almost, between legend and memory. He walks one last slow lap around the bed, pacing like a general before battle. His fingertips trail the comforter's edge. He nods once, subtly, like something inside has clicked into place. Then he turns off the lamp with one hand. The darkness slides in again, but not silence. Because now, in the dark, you hear his voice. Low, calm, focused. He's whispering to himself. It's not a pep talk. It's questions. Soft, searching questions. You can't make them all out, but you catch pieces. Would I have seen that angle? Was I too high on the pivot? Did I honor the game today? These aren't doubts. They're accountability checks. A man checking his soul the same way he checks his shooting form. And this part? He never skips it. Even when injured, even when exhausted, even after championship parades or crushing losses. This is how Kobe puts the day to rest. Not with closure, but with curiosity. And when the whispering fades, he folds the post-it, tucks it beneath the pillow, and lies back. There's a stillness now, a deeper one. Kobe's body is fully reclined on the bed, but it doesn't feel like rest just yet. Not exactly. His arms are crossed over his stomach, his breath steady, his eyes still open, reflecting the faint glow from the city outside. And then, movement. He reaches for the nightstand drawer and pulls out a pen. Not a hotel pen, one of those thick-barreled Japanese gel pens he orders in bulk. The kind that doesn't smear on napkins or glass. In his other hand, a half-used spiral notebook, creased at the spine and frayed around the corners. This one's labeled in tiny black ink. Counters, weak side. Tonight's thoughts, it seems, are about balance and timing. He starts scribbling, quick lines, numbers, tiny diagrams that look like stick-figure dance moves. The paper crackles softly under the pressure of his hand. Then he stops, looks around. No more space. The page is full, notebook's done. So, what now? Napkins again, but this time, he reaches for something else first. A hotel coaster. Yeah. You watch as Kobe flips it over and starts writing on the back of a round cardboard drink coaster. His handwriting spills past the edge in a tight swirl, like he's drawing up a play for the universe. And then, finally, when that coaster fills up, he does what any sleep-deprived genius with no boundaries between thoughts and furniture might do. He grabs the mirror, and with slow, deliberate strokes, he begins sketching with a Sharpie across the top right quadrant of the bathroom mirror. Nothing messy, just lines, arrows, a few numbers. 2 stick figures, one labeled me, the other him. You catch a phrase scrawled beneath it all. Slip early, make him chase. That's the thing about Kobe. He didn't just break defenders down, he psyched them out. In his mind, every opponent was part threat, part puzzle. And the mirror? It wasn't for reflection. It was for clarity, for remembering the answer before waking up. He never wipes it clean right away either. No, he lets it sit overnight, so he can see it first thing in the morning, like a dream that stuck to the glass. Biographers still wonder about this part. Some call it mental warfare. Others claim it was theater, just for himself. But one of his longtime trainers swears Kobe once broke down an entire 20-minute game plan for a finals matchup from a napkin sketch he made half asleep at 2:30 a.m. When asked how he remembered it all, Kobe just said, "I trust what I write when I'm tired." But the writing's only half the ritual tonight. There's also the listening. Kobe reaches for his phone, not to scroll, not to watch, but to listen. He pulls up a saved audio file, something you've heard before. You smile, because it's so weird. It's Bruce Lee, a scratchy recording. Lee's voice echoing slightly in the background, saying, "Be water, my friend." Kobe closes his eyes. This wasn't a phase. This wasn't a late career affectation. Kobe had been studying Bruce Lee since high school. watched Enter the Dragon more times than he'd ever admit, tried to mimic his rhythm, his precision, even the emotional economy of his speech. And while some players were falling asleep to R&B playlists or white noise, Kobe drifted off to philosophy. Bruce's voice fades. Kobe sets the phone face down again. But he's still not done. He pulls one last thing from his bag, a tiny folded square of paper, unfolds it, smooths it gently. It's a handwritten note. Looks like it's been read 100 times. The edges are soft, the ink slightly faded. It's in Kobe's handwriting, but the style is younger, less rigid, looser loops. It reads, "You haven't earned tomorrow yet." That's it. No signature, no context, just a line that feels like a challenge and a vow all in one. You once asked him where it came from. He just said, "It's a note from my future self," then tucked it back into the side pocket of his bag, like it was a lucky charm made of ink and willpower. And now, finally, he lies flat. No more diagrams, no more whispering, just that deep, rhythmic breathing, and the quiet hum of the room holding him, the way a backstage space holds a performer after the last curtain call. You look around and notice something strange. There's not a single item out of place. Not the notebooks, not the coaster, not the napkins. Even the Sharpie lies uncapped, but precisely aligned next to the glass. Kobe didn't just prepare his mind, he prepared his environment to serve him, even while unconscious. It's like watching someone write a letter to tomorrow, while the rest of the world sleeps through it. The last light dims now, even the curtain's glow is gone, and if you listen closely, in the hush between seconds, you can hear it. Not snoring, not sighing, just that almost imperceptible inhale, the kind of breath a mountain takes before sunrise. There's a calm to the room now, but it's not the kind of calm you'd associate with surrender. It's more like the deep, dense quiet of a coiled spring. Resting, yes, but just for a while. Then, like clockwork, Kobe's eyes open. He's not groggy, not blinking away sleep, just present. It's somewhere between midnight and 2 a.m. The window won't say, and the bedside clock is turned face down, as always. He doesn't check the time. Doesn't need to. His body has a rhythm all its own. And now it's time for one of the strangest parts of his nightly ritual. Midnight free throws. But not real ones. Mental ones. He lies flat on his back, arms by his sides, eyes closed again. But this time, he's not drifting off. He's shooting. In his mind. You see his fingers twitch ever so slightly, shoulders tighten, then relax. The left wrist rotates, mimicking the flick. He's standing at the line in his head. The crowd's murmuring. The ball's cold. His legs are sore. Everything is real, except the gym. He does this every night. Not 10 shots, not 50, 800. You know this because you asked once. Why 800? He answered deadpan. Because 700 isn't enough. No smile, no wink, just math. You watch as his lips part slightly. His breathing syncs with the rhythm. Inhale on the dribble, exhale on the release. He imagines misses too, never skips them. If the ball bounces out, he resets, checks his elbow alignment in his mind, adjusts, shoots again. This is the part where most people would lose focus, but not Kobe. He once held a full 45-minute silent session like this, never opened his eyes. When you asked how he stayed in it, he said, "The basket lives in my chest." No, you don't fully get it either. But that's Kobe. This isn't about superstition. It's repetition without friction. The kind of muscle memory that rewires not just your arms, but your identity. Lesser known fact, Kobe trained himself to visualize the sound of different arenas. Madison Square Garden's rim, slightly looser ringtone. Staples Center, tighter, cleaner ping. He filed them away like audio fingerprints, said it helped him mentally shoot in any arena, even when asleep. Biographers have speculated about this particular routine for years. Some claim it was born out of injury, Kobe trying to maintain form when his body couldn't go. Others argue it was his way of coping with pressure, rerunning end-of-game moments until they couldn't hurt him. But his trainer once said the real reason was simpler. He didn't want to give sleep more hours than the game got. And now, after what feels like a quiet eternity, Kobe exhales long and slow. His hands rest again, palms up, shoulders loose. That's the signal. Mental practice complete. But the night isn't over. Because now, it's review time. He sits up, pulls the pillow toward him, and grabs a pencil. Yes, pencil, from under the mattress. The soft graphite kind, sharpened to a surgical point. On the back of a blank index card, he starts writing notes from the free throw session. Not about how many he made, but about the feel.
Left foot weight drift, third set.
Missed wind cue at 6:11, breathing shallow between 4:10 to 4:40. He tracks the mental performance like it was a televised scrimmage. You once teased him. You know none of that was real, right? He just said, "Tell that to my wrist." One night in Dallas, you even saw him diagram a missed imaginary free throw on the hotel mirror. Drew the trajectory in dry erase marker with an X where the ball rimmed out. You stood there stunned, watching a man correct a thought. That's when you stopped doubting any of it. Now he shuffles the card back into a small rubber-banded stack, tucks it under the bed, right next to the sock pouch. He leans back against the headboard, closes his eyes, and for a moment, the room feels done, like the night has finally ended. But then, click, the lamp goes on again, dim, warm. Kobe reaches for a glass of water, room temp, no ice, always covered with a coaster to keep the air out. He drinks in slow sips, pausing halfway through like it's a toast to something only he can see. He moves to the desk one last time. Notebooks stay closed, but a small slip of paper waits there. Folded once. You recognize it, the same paper he's carried for years. Tonight, though, he unfolds it and flips it over. Writes a new line on the back. Stay long in the silence. He folds it again, places it under the coaster. Then, with the final bit of care, he dims the lamp again. And this time, for real. He rests. The kind of rest that isn't collapse. It's recovery with purpose. His legs stretch out, one arm under the pillow. The room is still again. But even now, in sleep, Kobe doesn't look peaceful in the way most people do. He looks ready, like if someone walked in and said, "Game's been moved up an hour." He'd be dressed in 3 minutes, socks perfectly aligned. And if you asked him, why all this? Why the reps, the routines, the mirror diagrams and ice cups? He'd probably shrug. The silence in the room is full now, full of purpose, full of potential, full of a kind of energy that doesn't hum or buzz. It waits, ready to strike the moment the eyes open. Kobe is sleeping now, but not deeply, not loosely. You can almost sense his breath sinking with the faint hum of the AC, his chest rising in even intervals, his fingers twitching just once as if gripping an invisible basketball in a dream. And then, without warning, he sits up. It's not jarring. There's no gasp, no sleepy eyes or groggy confusion, just calm, precise movement. He checks nothing. Not the time, not the weather, not his phone. Instead, he swings his feet off the bed and plants them firmly on the ground, grabbing the black hoodie from the back of the chair. This is the blackout hoodie moment. He slides it over his head. No rush, no drag. Then reaches for the drawstrings and tightens them. Tighter, tighter still. Until only a sliver of face peeks out, the bridge of his nose, the edge of his cheek. The rest is swallowed in black cotton. Instead, it's like he's disappearing, or preparing to re-emerge. He leans forward in the chair, elbows on knees, hoodie hood casting a shadow that devours his expression. And now, he watches. Not the room, not a screen, his own mind. He once told a friend that the hoodie was a portal, not fashion, not comfort, but a control chamber. A place where no external light, no distractions, no irrelevant thoughts could creep in. Just sweat, breath, vision. You've seen it before, this quiet, cloaked version of Kobe who might sit still for minutes or an hour, thinking through scenarios. A fourth quarter trap, a late game mismatch, a left-hand dribble angle that didn't exist yesterday but might tomorrow. He's not dreaming, he's directing. And it always begins with one image. Tonight, a defender slipping. It's always a different player. Sometimes it's a real guy, one he's set to face next week. Sometimes it's an imaginary composite. 6'6", long arms, high motor. Doesn't matter. What matters is where he breaks. In Kobe's mind, it happens at the top of the key. The defender overcommits just slightly. One misread, one weight shift too far, and Kobe's past him. In real life, no one's moved. No ball has bounced. But inside the hoodie, the move is made. Clean, efficient, devastating. He rewinds, runs it again. Same moment, new footwork, new counter. This time he jab steps, hangs, hezzy, goes, and the defender slips again. You can't see his face under the hoodie, but you can feel the small grin. He's not playing basketball. He's painting solutions. Here's a lesser-known fact. Kobe once wrote out a full list of emotional states that defenders experience during the course of a possession. He ranked them from confidence to panic. The goal, he said, was to drive his opponent to stage 5, submission, by the third quarter. Biographers still argue whether this was psychological warfare or poetic madness. Some say it was Kobe's way of externalizing control. Others think it was self-soothing, a method of rehearsing dominance to keep fear at bay. But whatever it was, it worked, because in this hotel room, in this hoodie, in this silence, Kobe is undefeated. The hoodie isn't just fabric, it's armor, a mobile meditation pod, a curtain behind which greatness rehearses. And when he's done, he doesn't take it off immediately. No, he slowly loosens the drawstring, lets the light back in, just a little, then stands, hoodie still on, and walks to the bathroom, where the ghost of last night's diagram still lingers on the mirror. 2 arrows, a curl, one stick figure labeled me. He stares at it, nods, then lifts the Sharpie from the sink counter and adds a tiny correction. A pivot arrow, 1/2 inch long. That's it. Precision, even in shadows. He finally removes the hoodie, folds it twice, and sets it on the corner of the chair like it's earned its rest. Then washes his hands, always for the exact duration of the alphabet. It's not about hygiene, it's a reset. Another line of separation between mind space and body space. He wipes his face with a towel, room temp, just enough to bring the blood back up to the surface. Then dries his hands and flicks off the bathroom light with the side of his knuckle. Kobe's world is full of these gestures. Little things done big, big things done quiet. Even now, as he slides back under the sheets, feet tucked, socks prepped for the next round, he moves like a man who has already begun tomorrow. You've heard of visualization, but this is pre-experience. He's not dreaming of the game. He's already played it, won it, broken it down, adjusted the counter moves, filed the psychological report. And all of it happened right here, in the dark, in the hoodie, on the edge of sleep. You realize that this is what separated Kobe. Not the talent, not even the work ethic, but this exact thing, the refusal to let any moment go unclaimed, even the quiet ones, especially the quiet ones. The hotel room hums with silence again. Not empty silence, but the kind that comes when every object has been used for exactly what it was made for. The desk isn't cluttered, it's complete. The mirror holds a single revised arrow. The folded hoodie rests like a sheathed blade. And Kobe, he lies in bed again, but this time, his eyes stay open, because it's time for his final study session of the night. But there's no screen, no actual film. This is film study by imagination. He rolls onto his side, facing the wall. His breathing slows, not sleepy but meditative. Then his eyes narrow, just a little. You can almost see the projector flicker on inside his head. Kobe is watching tape, from memory, not just clips, entire quarters, possession by possession. You hear nothing, see nothing, but in his mind, Staples Center is lit. He's watching the second quarter from a game played 2 weeks ago against the Spurs. He's rewinding the first play of the half. Parker brings the ball up. Duncan flashes high. They run a high screen. Kobe doesn't just see it. He feels it. His own footwork. His teammates' spacing. The exact moment a bounce pass skidded too wide. You watch his hand twitch like he's trying to correct it mid-air. He mouths something. Steps sooner. Then rewinds. In his mind, he changes his angle. Repositions early. Forces a turnover. Pushes in transition. Pause. He exhales. That's the fix. Now he moves on to another play. This one from a different game. Against Miami. You see his brow furrow slightly. That's the mental freeze frame expression. He's dissecting help defense, reading body tilt. He once said he could tell which way a defender would slide based on where their eyes darted during the inbound. That's not basketball. That's espionage. Biographers have spent years trying to explain how Kobe remembered it all. Some say photographic memory. Others say obsessive repetition. But those who really knew him, they say he lived inside the game, 24/7. His memory wasn't a file cabinet. It was a live feed. And right now, under dim city light, that feed is wide open. But here's the weirdest part. He never lets the reel finish. You'd think a guy this methodical would want to resolve it all, get closure, fix every error. But no, Kobe always stops with one play left. He told a trainer once, "I leave the last one hanging. Gives me a reason to wake up fast." That's Kobe in a sentence. While others look to rest for restoration, he looks to rest for fuel. A lesser-known fact? Kobe used to assign colors to different opponents' schemes, not officially, just in his own system. The Celtics' defense was dark green, with sharp triangle angles. The Suns, burnt orange, fast and soft-edged. The Heat, gray steel, unforgiving, brutal. He used these colors to rehearse game plans in his head, said it made the information stick better than names. Color codes the instincts, he told you once. You think back to a moment on a team plane, Kobe scribbling diagrams in blue pen, then going over them again in red, yellow, even purple highlighter. When asked what he was doing, he said, trying to smell the coverage. No one laughed, because he meant it. And now, in this dark hotel room, his breathing has changed, slower, deeper. But just before true sleep, one last check-in, he rolls to his back, eyes still closed, then whispers 3 names. Sometimes they're teammates, sometimes they're legends, sometimes they're shadows of future defenders he hasn't faced yet. Tonight, you hear KD, Clay, Devin. He's not worried. He's acknowledging. He believes that naming the opponent gives shape to the mission. You can't sharpen the blade if you don't name the duel. One last inhale, then stillness. For real this time. No more diagrams, no more post-its, no more replays. Just the echo of a man who has burned through the day with purpose and folded every inch of his night into something like art. And as the room fades to full darkness, the lamp now cold, the air perfectly still, you realize he's not sleeping to escape. He's sleeping to continue. The room remains dark, wrapped in silence that doesn't ask for attention. It commands it. Kobe is deep under, but his body still holds the posture of purpose. Arms relaxed but not sprawled. Legs straight, toes slightly flexed like they know they've still got a job to do in a few hours. And then, movement. Just a twitch, subtle. His hand brushes the edge of the towel beside him. You know what time it is, even if no clock has been looked at. It's stretch time. Because even in sleep, Kobe's body keeps score. He slides out from beneath the sheets in one fluid motion, like he's answering a silent call. No stumble, no shuffle, just bare feet gliding across the carpet with the kind of grace that says, this body is maintained like a machine. You've seen this before. This is not about warming up for the day. This is about finding weakness before it can hide. He drops to the floor with the ease of someone who stretches not for flexibility, but for truth. He begins with slow rotations, ankle rolls, wrist turns, then leans into a hamstring stretch. First the left leg, then the right, then comes the stretch you've seen trainers side-eye, the one that looks almost unnatural. Right leg extended straight, left foot tucked tight against the opposite thigh, and then he leans forward. Not just forward, beyond forward. His chest nearly presses against the thigh, nose close to the knee. It's clean, tight, unforgiving. This is the nightly hamstring test, and it has rules. He holds it for 1 minute and 24 seconds. No more, no less. Why that number? No one knows. But it's always that long. A private time signature for a personal battle. You once asked him if it ever hurt. He just said, "If it didn't, I'd be worried." And yes, sometimes it does hurt. There was a night in '07 where he limped into the next morning's shoot-around. Didn't say a word, just taped it and went full speed. When asked why he didn't skip the stretch, he said, "Because the fear would have stayed longer than the strain." Biographers still debate that stretch. Some call it ego. Others think it was a measuring stick, a way for Kobe to make sure nothing was slipping, even a fraction. But those closest to him, they call it his confession booth. If something was off, tension, imbalance, fatigue, it would reveal itself here. No trainer, no crowd, just the stretch and the truth. Tonight, he leans into it a little slower. You notice the breath, the resistance, but then he stays, holds, waits, counts the seconds not by ticking but by heartbeat. When the time is up, he exhales and shifts gently into pigeon pose, a slow transition that looks less like yoga and more like a lion preparing to rest. A lesser-known fact? Kobe didn't just stretch. He documented his stretches. Had a small grid he'd sketch into his journal. Green for easy, yellow for tight, red for pain. It looked like a radar system for body awareness. And yes, he kept the chart for over a decade. His own private physical history. He believed in self-surveillance, not for punishment, for protection. Because how can you improve something you won't measure? Now back on his feet, he walks to the mirror again, because of course he does, and lifts his shirt to check his posture. Just posture. He rotates, inspects the line of his spine, how his shoulders sit, makes a tiny correction. Right shoulder pulled back a half inch. You wouldn't even notice, but he does. He always does. And just as you think he's about to return to bed, he pauses, turns, walks to the desk, opens the sock pouch, not for a new pair, but to check the stack, the angle, the spacing, the light falling on the top fold. He adjusts one pair, just one, then nods, and only then, does he return to bed. Back under the sheets, this time on his left side, head resting on his arm like a cat curled into stillness. You can feel the rhythm begin to soften. Even the air seems to slow, as if holding its breath with him. He takes one final inhale through his nose and whispers, "All checked." It's not a mantra, it's a confirmation, like a pilot before sleep, running down a mental checklist. Systems aligned, instruments cleared, weather understood, all checked. And now he gives himself permission to fully exhale, to let the stillness settle into his muscles, to trust the body he's tuned like an instrument, to know that nothing is broken, nothing is bent, that the tension served its purpose, that the truth was found in stretch and in breath and in correction. And as he fades again into sleep, there's no smile, no frown, just that familiar Kobe neutrality, that monk with a mission calm. Even here, even now, he's not off duty. He's simply recharging the mission. The room is motionless again, but only on the surface. In truth, the energy has merely gone underground, like a river flowing beneath a frozen lake. Kobe sleeps, not softly, not lightly, but intentionally. Even his sleep posture seems curated, head on one arm, spine aligned, ankles uncrossed. But slowly, without alarm or hesitation, he stirs. His feet slide out from under the covers, toes hit carpet, ankles rotate once each clockwise. Then he stands, not with a groan or a stretch, but with the ease of someone who's been waiting to get back to work. Because now it's time for the blackout hoodie, again. But tonight's second round is different. This time it's not about mental visualization. This is about containment. You watch as he slides the hoodie back over his head, then tightens the drawstrings once again, even tighter than before. All that's visible now is the bridge of his nose and just a flicker of cheekbone. The rest of him has vanished into fabric. To the untrained eye, this would look like someone seeking comfort, warmth. But for Kobe, this is armor, a deliberate act of disappearance. Because now, in this self-made cocoon, he is alone with the question. Each night, just before his final sleep cycle, Kobe asks himself a question. Whispered, never repeated, always different, always out loud. Tonight, it comes low, soft. Can you still be feared without being seen? There's no answer. Not yet. Just breath. Inhale, exhale, steady. This question isn't rhetorical. It's a challenge, a spark lit and left burning in the dark. Sometimes the question is about footwork, sometimes legacy, sometimes pain, but always, it's a call to confront something beneath the surface. Biographers still debate where this came from. Some trace it to his Achilles injury, when he had to redefine dominance without flight. Others say it was the loss of certain games, moments that didn't go his way, and how he used silence as a kind of weapon afterward. But the hoodie moment? This is internal. This is self versus self. No game plan, no teammates, no crowd. Just the core question of every driven soul. Am I still sharp in the dark? And here's the strange part. After he asks it, he just sits. Still. For 7 minutes. Exactly 7. You've timed it. He never speaks. Never fidgets. Just exists inside that fabric, in that space, as if the answer will arrive only when he's quiet enough to hear it. You might think this is meditation. It's not. It's mental confrontation. He doesn't want to empty his mind. He wants to sift through it, find the loose threads, the soft spots, the parts that would crack under playoff pressure. Lesser known fact? Kobe once went through a week of not speaking before a major road trip. Not a vow of silence, just deliberate reduction. Said he wanted to see if removing words made his instincts louder. When you asked him if it worked, he nodded once and said, "Words blur the edge sometimes." Tonight, under the hoodie, the world is reduced. The noise is filtered. Only the edge remains. After the 7th minute, he rises. Not fast, not slow, just precisely. He removes the hoodie, folds it once, then, without a word, slides open the nightstand drawer and pulls out a fresh pair of socks. He doesn't need them. He won't wear them tonight, but he wants to feel them. He places them on the bed, one hand smoothing the fabric like a caretaker fluffing a child's blanket. He inspects the stitching, feels the compression line, then folds them, twice, sets them near the pillow. Not for use, for presence, because even in sleep, Kobe surrounds himself with objects that speak to the mission. The socks are a whisper. You're still built for this. He takes one last walk around the room, bed to curtain, curtain to mirror, mirror to desk. You've seen this route before, but this time, it's more like a cool-down lap, like the final 400 meters of a marathon no one else saw him run. He dims the last light with his elbow, climbs back into bed. No sighs, no shifting, just stillness. But before his eyes close, he lifts the edge of the pillow and retrieves the earlier post-it, the one tucked before the mental free throws. He flips it, scrawls a single new line. Fearless is not loud. Then folds it, sets it under the coaster, and lies back, satisfied. Because for Kobe, the mission wasn't just to dominate the game. It was to quietly sharpen the blade long after the battle had ended, to prepare for things no one else saw coming, to become, even in the dark, undeniable. The hotel room has become something else now, not just a place to sleep, not even just a place to prepare. It's a chamber, almost sacred in its arrangement. Everything has been folded, adjusted, checked, whispered to, or walked around. The air feels still, yes, but underneath that stillness is something electric, like a held breath before a final note. Kobe lies in bed, unmoving, but his eyes? Open again, because the night is almost over. And that means it's time for the last ritual. He reaches, quietly, smoothly, beneath the bed and pulls out the final sock. Not a pair, just one. It's not for wearing. This sock isn't about training or recovery or game day prep. It's symbolic. The others are already folded, sorted, positioned like chess pieces for the next morning. But this sock lives apart. It's the final object he touches every single night. He holds it in one hand now, pinched gently between his fingers. Then he examines it like an old photograph, like a relic. It's slightly worn. You can tell it's been handled more than used. The fabric's softened, but not stretched. The logo is faint, but still visible. A little crease forms near the cuff from where he's always folded it in exactly the same way. He doesn't rush. This fold takes longer than all the others. Slower, straighter, sharper. One crease, then a second, and then he pauses. This is the only time he ever hesitates. Because folding the final sock isn't a chore, it's a signal. To the day, to his body, to himself. We did everything we could. Biographers still debate this moment. Some say it began during his Achilles rehab, when every tiny gesture mattered. Others trace it back to childhood, when his mother used to fold his socks on game days and leave them on the radiator to warm. But the truth, probably, is that it never started. It was always there. The instinct to finish strong. Even if the finishing touch was on cotton, he folds it. Just once. Then again. And he places it beside the pillow, not on it. Never on it. He said once, "You don't sleep on closure. You sleep next to it." And now, the lamp. He taps it once. Flicks it off with the inside of his toe. Yes, his toe. It's always the toe. A quiet final gesture. Like a drummer closing out the set with a soft cymbal brush. You've seen it dozens of times, and it always hits the same way. Not dramatic, not showy, just deliberate. And now the room is dark, truly dark. Only a sliver of light filters in from the window. A strip of city glow trailing across the floor like a ribbon, touching the edge of his practice socks still perched on their towel. He exhales, this time deeply. No words, just air, moving out of him like the last task of the day. Then, eyes closed, not snapped shut, not drifted shut, just gently sealed like a letter that's already been read, already been signed. This is the moment everything leads to. The blackout hoodie, the Sharpie mirror notes, the silent free throws, the breathing drills, the sock folds, all of it, night after night, city after city. So that this exact moment, this final breath before sleep, feels earned, not gifted, earned. Lesser known fact? During long road trips, Kobe sometimes switched rooms mid-stay, booked a second under a different name, just for one night, just to challenge the system. New room, new floor, new layout. He called it chaos training. And yet, even in a new room, he'd bring the sock. The final one, the closer, the constant. Because greatness doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens here, where no one's watching, where no one's clapping, where the routine remains unbroken, not because it's easy, but because you owe it to the mission. And tonight, as Kobe's breath deepens and slows, the room leans into rest with him. Every item is in its place, every ritual completed, every question whispered. And as he fades now, for real this time, there's only the gentle weight of blankets, the hush of a fan, and the presence of one folded sock standing watch like a soldier by the bedside. Tomorrow will come, but tonight, the temple sleeps. The air in the room has thickened into something soft and final, like the closing notes of a lullaby that no one dared interrupt. Kobe's body doesn't move now. His breath is steady, almost invisible. Arms by his sides, face turned slightly toward the sock folded near the edge of the bed. One last sentinel, standing post in the dark. The night has held everything, and now it prepares to let go. In these final moments, there's no urgency, no preparation, no whispered drills. The body has entered its most honest state, unprotected, unguarded, unburdened. Every rep has been done, every angle mapped, every mistake owned. And so, sleep becomes not a retreat, but a rightful reward. But even here, there's something sacred unfolding. You notice how even the fabric around him falls just so, the blanket aligned with the edge of the bed, not bunched, the pillow still holding the faint weight of that final sock. The mirror quiet now, the Sharpie marks faded into abstraction under the dark. You start to feel it, not just the routine ending, but something greater completing itself. This room, 1,000 versions of it in cities all over the world, has seen this scene before. Not the same layout, not the same skyline through the window, but always the same presence. The man who turned a temporary hotel into a temple. The man who made a sock sacred. The man who chose preparation over peace and ritual over rest until they became the same thing. He doesn't stir, but he doesn't need to, because this final moment isn't about movement, it's about meaning. And that meaning, layered through every mirror note, every whisper, every towel, every toe-flicked light, has built a legacy that exists not just in arenas, but in silence. Because here's the real secret. Kobe didn't just chase greatness in front of the world. He folded it into every corner of his life. And now it's time to let the lights fade too.